houses are the most abundant. Houses and land is the most abundant. So if somebody's getting started, I always say, hey, you can put a virtual assistant on calling those people to see if the property is for sale or close by cash buyers. What I mean by cash buyers, they already bought a house for cash.
All right, you beautiful, attractive, sexy motherfuckers. I have for you guys probably what to me is one of the most exciting thing. I brought on a friend, mentor, legend, real estate Matt is here, Matt Larson, and we're going to be talking today about virtual wholesaling, which is a way to take your digital marketing skill set and apply it to real estate so that you get checks mailed to you. And one of the coolest things that we're going to talk about is actually, a lot of you guys may not know this, but I am not a US citizen. I am a Canadian citizen. And so I do not live in the United States. I actually live in Mexico. And thanks to this guy right here, I have to file taxes for all the deals I've done in the United States of America without actually stepping foot on US soil, done entirely through virtual assistants. So firstly, Matt, welcome and thanks for coming on and doing this with us.
Of course, anytime. Always love chit-chatting.
So let's start with the obvious, because, you know, as I mentioned before, like a lot of folks listening to this are doing digital marketing, and this is like right in their wheelhouse, because when you do virtual wholesaling, kind of Matt Larson style, where you're doing it with virtual assistants, it's really just the same digital marketing processes you're doing for clients and things like that. But instead of the deliverable being you in this marketing service where you're slaving away trying to get their website ranked, you're pushing a house. And there's a lot of benefits to doing that. I wonder if you could just share a few of those with our folks, and I'll probably chime in a little bit there too.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a house. It can literally be anything. It could be a piece of land, a big
we got
acreage.
A church in there too, actually.
Yeah, so it could be a apartment building, it could be a commercial building. Houses are the most abundant. Houses and land is the most abundant. So if somebody's getting started, I always say, hey, go after land deals or house deals. They're kind of everywhere. But you can wholesale anything. Basically, all you're doing is you're pulling a list. Okay, you can buy a list of anything, right? So we like a high equity, non-owner occupied list. And virtual means you can do it from your house and you never have to see the house. Okay, you never have to see the piece of land. So basically, you buy a list. We like the best list is a high equity, non-owner occupied, and whatever zip codes that you want to focus on. I typically tell people to find one particular area and work those zip codes in that area. So like if a metro area has 500,000 people, there might be 6 or 7 or 10 zip codes you'll work. You buy that list and you skip trace it, which is just fancy for getting the person's phone number. And then what you can do is you can put a virtual assistant on calling those people to see if the property is for sale or they would consider an offer. And then what ends up happening, it's just a numbers game. Some people are going to be like, don't ever call me again. Other people are going to be like, I'd consider an offer if it's the right price. And some people are like, yeah, I really would like to sell this thing. I talked to a real estate agent and they said I had to do all this work to the property first. So you're going to get a certain amount of leads. So like, for example, if you have the virtual assistant call 500 people, you might get 5 people that want to sell. And then you make them an offer, and that offer, once that offer gets accepted, you can do the contracts electronically, everything. You never even have to open your mailbox.
Yeah, we use like DocuSign or something like that, or equivalent service.
Yep. So what ends up happening is you get a deal under contract. Right now, I'm skipping a few steps here because first you got to know what the thing is worth, and you've got to run some comps on it. You've got to kind of figure out some math there. That's all pretty easy stuff. Yeah. I'm giving a little high level view of this whole thing, how it works. So basically, you make an offer, you get it accepted. All right. Now, what we do is we find a local picture person that lives in the area. We do that through Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. Basically, we just place a free ad that says, hey, we're looking for somebody to take pictures of houses when we get them under contract in the area. We're willing to pay $50 if you go take 50 pictures. Now, here's the cool part. To qualify as a picture person, you actually don't have to have some kind of a fancy camera. You have one of these, which everybody has one of these. You don't, well, these are beat up houses. It's not like better quality photos. And these things take great pictures. So you can get pictures done cheap. So here's how we do it. So we find a picture person. We have the house under contract. We've never seen it, right? We've negotiated over the phone. We've never seen the property. We've just asked specific questions of the seller. We find the closest Home Depot or Lowe's. We go online, we buy a lockbox. Okay, we set it up for curbside pickup. We tell the picture person, go pick up your lockbox on your way to the house. They swing by, pick up the lockbox, set the code, go to the house, meet the seller, take 50 pictures, fill out a walkthrough sheet, set the keys in the lockbox when they leave, lock it up, and leave. Then they send us the pictures. Now we have the pictures and we have access to a house where we can send buyers through. So now what we're doing is we do searches for cash buyers in the area. Again, that's a list you can buy. You can go on Zillow and pull this stuff. You can hit a couple of websites, but you can find close by cash buyers. What I mean by cash buyers, they already bought a house for cash. So they've already raised their hand saying, I'm a buyer.
Yeah, sometimes, can I just add, they haven't just bought one, they bought, 3 dozen in the area like that, and they've got a whole operation doing this.
Yeah. So you pick the people that own several near that house. You call them up, see if they're still interested in buying. They say yes. You say, give me your email. I'll send you the details of the house. You do a mass email through your email service, no different than you're doing with your digital marketing. And you're going to have some people say, I want to go look at the house. So you do some qualifying, you ask for the proof of funds. They give you the proof of funds. You give them the address and the lockbox code, and they go and look at it, make you an offer. And once they make you an offer, if you accept their offer, if you have 10 people looking at the same house, that's good odds. You get their offer. Now you get a new contract with the buyer. So you've got a contract with the seller. You've got a new contract with the buyer. You send everything over to the title company. They do all the paperwork. It goes to a closing date. It closes, and they wire you your funds or send you a check. I always just get a wire. That's it. Once the deal's done, it's done. It's over. You've got your money. You go do another deal.
Love it. And actually, just speaking of that, I don't know if you guys can see that, but that says Wolfpack Real Estate, and that is our actual real estate corporation right there. Yes, I did name it the Wolfpack because I'm cool like that. And that is thanks to you right there. That is Frankie Finn's Real Estate Corporation. So I love how you like really simplified complexity, because I think a lot of people would struggle with, like, how do I decide which homes you go after? And as I've said with digital marketing, a lot of times beat up to my audience, is that when people want to do outreach or drum up business, it's actually more about disqualification and eliminating all the things that aren't worth your time, and then really focusing in on, in our case, it's like you want to focus on people who are spending money on advertising right now and have some kind of team in place and have proven that they pay people for help. If you just nail those two things when you aim for businesses, you'll make your life so much easier. And I see people like struggling because they chase businesses that don't have any fucking money to begin with, and then try and sell them a service and don't buy those kind of things. So I love how you mentioned I feel like this is a cheat code. You mentioned the 60% equity, non-owner occupied. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with that, that means like a person has paid down at least 40% of their mortgage. So like, if it's $100,000 house, they may only still owe $60,000 or less. And the owner doesn't live there. I wonder if you could just talk firstly about why that list is so important and why that makes your life so much easier on this wholesaling process, because it's a vacant home, and some of the challenges you would have if it's not vacant or if they didn't have equity.
Yeah. So first of all, if it's non-owner occupied, that means the owner doesn't live there. That means the owner lives somewhere else. Okay. So if the owner lives somewhere else, they've got this other house over here that they may not have any attachment to. Maybe they inherited the house. Maybe it was a rental property. Maybe they lived there for a while and got transferred across the country to a new job, and now they just have this annoying house that's 3 states away that they're afraid somebody's breaking into every night.
Yeah, and they got a payment due every month on it.
They might have a payment, even if it's free and clear, they still have property taxes, they still have insurance, they still have utilities on, they still have to cut the grass in the summer, they get a fine by the city, they have to remove the snow off the sidewalks in the winter, or they get fined by the city. So they still have expenses, but more than anything, that the number one human emotion is fear of loss, right? And they're always thinking about what's going on with this house that I own that I'm not at. Just literally, I live in a lake house right here, and last week I woke up in the morning on a newer house, and I had a little water leak under my kitchen that went down my basement. The basement's finished, and I got downstairs, got destroyed. Well, guess what? I only let that water run overnight, and it did all that damage. These people, they're thinking about that type of thing all the time, and that's a real problem. Could be a storm, could be a tornado, could be a tree fall. You just never know. So there's a lot of potential motivation to sell fast and cheap with a list of non-owner occupied houses. The equity piece is important, because if somebody has a house worth 100 grand and they owe 100, well, and we need to buy it for 50. Well, we can't buy it for 50 if they owe 100 on it, right? That would be upside down. So we like to get the high equity, anything up to like 60% or less. So what that means is they might own it free and clear, or have a mortgage up to 60% of the value of the house. That's all a list you can buy in seconds and have it.
Yeah.
So that's why that list works. And it's a numbers game. It is a numbers game. This is a shotgun approach, because you're contacting 300, 400, 500 people a day. You're not actually doing any of the work the way I do it. You have a virtual assistant do all that stuff for pennies on the dollar, cheap. They live in a third world country. The exchange value of money is different there. They can make, $7 an hour and be really happy, whereas that's not even minimum wage where I live. So we have a virtual assistant do 90% of the heavy lifting. And so then all of a sudden you have a little system built where you're creating spreads of 5, 10, 15, 20,000 plus of what you can buy the house for compared to what you sell it for. So like, I don't know exactly some of the money that you made, Frankie, but I know it was in the thousands of dollars. Yeah. You can create a small spread on a house. So a small spread on an iPhone might be $50, $100. On a house, think about 5% of the value of a house. That's all we're doing, is creating a 5% discount. But on a $100,000 house, that's $5,000, can be 10 grand. On a $200,000 house, you're talking 10,000, 20,000 bucks.
Yeah.
So
those are the most typical deals, right? Like 10, 20,000, I'd say, is the most typical.
Yeah.
They go significantly higher. I mean, you've got people doing deals in the hundreds of thousands, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Me personally, the best wholesale deal I ever did was 242,000. Yeah. But it was an apartment building, it was $1 million building. But I've done a lot of $100,000 profit deals. But our typical profit deal is in that $10,000 to $12,000 range.
Yeah.
And but you want to do multiple of those a month.
I just want to say that comparatively, because, we've been kind of talking about this, why I think this is such an appealing kind of like side thing to start for so many guys that are kind of doing all of this stuff anyway, is some of you guys are like struggling to sell a service for $1,000 a month and keep clients for a year. And even if you're selling for 3 or 5, often like your margins aren't $5,000 a month. You might be keeping 1,000. You do all that work and you take all those client headaches and you have to do meetings and updates, all that to get 12 grand in a year. Or you can flip one house and as soon as the house is done, the house is the deliverable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's over. Once that wire gets sent to you for the proceeds of the sale, you'll never talk about that house again, unless you happen to buy it again down the road, which is possible. I've bought and sold the same house, I think, 3 times.
You told me. Can I just say, I forgot to mention this for those of you guys. I think this is an important point. I always say, like, people ask me, they say the same thing to me in the agency space. They say, man, you should have a way bigger audience. And I go, well, I like to talk to people that are actually doing it, not necessarily like selling the dream of you can become a millionaire in a digital marketing agency. I like talking about like to the folks who are actually in the trenches running it. And you're very much that in real estate. Matt is the opposite of the on a check. What was that guy's name? The Vu guy, Tom Vu, like the Vietnamese guy in the boat. Come to my seminar, you become millionaire. Matt's very much like a meat and potato, give you the tools. Here's my sales script. Here's the list we buy. Here's my course that walks you through the ads we run. Here's our checklist for doing a, fix and flip. He has other stuff he does as well, and all of those kind of things. And that's one of the things I love about you. Like, you could probably, if you wanted to be but you've, over 17 years, like, you've done thousands of deals. Like this is not like a theoretical concept, I should mention. Like, this is not a, hey, selling the dream. This is like more like in the meat and potatoes of living the dream.
Yeah. And here's the key. Because I haven't actually been involved in my business for several years now. And I say not involved. It's not that I'm completely disconnected. I do a meeting every week with my team. It's scheduled for 30 minutes. We typically get done in 20. I check my end of day reports for leads and contracts every day. That takes a couple hours a week, probably total. So it's like, I'm still involved a little bit, but I don't do any of the day-to-day operations at all. And so the key to it is here's the difference between somebody that's successful and somebody that's unsuccessful. The unsuccessful person gets the idea, buys the course, learns everything, puts it up here, but never takes action. The way I teach people to do it is, listen, it's fun to go learn, but learning's the easy part. The hard part is the doing. Yeah. And so my cheat code is, I teach people how to go get a virtual assistant to do the work. Yeah. And you do top level stuff. So, like, the reason you were successful so quickly, Frankie, is not because you're not a doer. You're a busy dude. You got 3 kids running around like crazy, but you plugged in the VAs really fast, and then they did the majority of the heavy lifting, and you kind of directed the ship. And so,
can I just stop you right there and just add something? One of the things that you did that made that really, really easy. I've talked before about the different stages in agency growth, and when you reach stage 3 is where you're like a manager, where your most valuable input is oversight of the machine, but not necessarily like doing any of the pieces. And one of the pieces I talked that's so important about that is you have to have KPIs. You have to know where the numbers are. What are we stuck on? And that way, that allows you to troubleshoot problems. And you can like literally just look at the numbers and go, why is that? And go, okay, investigate and begin to solve that problem. But it only might take a 10-minute discussion to get that problem moved and solved. But one of the things that you made really, really easy is that, like, we started getting KPI reports every week. Actually, the VA send them daily, but I mostly just read the weekly ones where I get a summary of the numbers. And from that, you can sort of troubleshoot and move the machine. And you made that really, really easy to manage a machine, because I can see we have this many leads, we talked to this many sellers, we've got this many offers out there, this is how many contracts, this is how many of those contracts are accepted. And then you can see, hey, we got 3 close to the whole opportunities. How do we follow up with the ones that are interested? So you made that really kind of easy, at least from our perspective. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah. And how we do that, I mean, it's like this business, the whole wholesaling business is not a roll of the dice. It really isn't. It is roll of the dice if you don't plan on working very hard. But if you have VAs to work hard for you, it's numbers. So I know, because I've done 4,000 plus deals, and we've been tracking our KPIs for a decade. I know that if somebody makes 6 offers a day, okay, so if I have a virtual assistant making 6 offers a day, 30 offers a week, and I do that for 4 weeks, I'm going to get 3 to 5 contracts. That's how that works. I'm going to close 3 to 5 deals. It's almost as consistent as gravity. Now, a lot of factors come into play there. You got to be calling the right lists. You've got to know how to negotiate to make those offers. You got to have good buyers on your buyers list to that you can bring in to buy the deals. You've got to bring in a certain amount of leads every day so that you can get the 6 offers. If you want to make 6 offers a day and you're only bringing in 2 leads, math doesn't work. So we've just dumbed it down from the number standpoint to make it super consistent and predictable. So then what ends up happening is somebody gets to 3 to 5 deals a month. Well, they say, Matt, I want to double. Okay, well, we have to double the activity. We have to get you another VA team. We have to get more marketing VAs and cold callers and dispo VAs and acquisitions VAs. And then you double the marketing side. You double the offers, and the repeat has happened. This is how I've built my business to start and go in multiple markets. it's just numbers. It's just math. We figured out the formula, and we're now obviously helping people all across the country do it with my VAs and all that. But it's really math. It's luck if you only make one offer and it gets accepted.
Yeah.
But then you can't get repeatable stuff. It's not luck. It's just math. If you hit the magic 6 offers a day, that's where all the magic happens.
Yeah, actually, and since you and I forget the guy's name, the land geek guy, kind of when I kind of understood your real estate philosophy, I've been preaching a lot of that because a lot of people come to me in the agency space and they're looking for some kind of output. I want to get to 58,000 a month. I want to get to 100,000 a month. I want to get to 10 grand a month. Some people just want to get a first ever client. And almost always it's like, if you look at their inputs, it doesn't match the goal they're after. And I learned from the land guys, it's a really simple thing. It's like mail 100 offers a week to these kind of lists. And for every 100 offers you send, you average ad deal. Does that mean that like if you send 100, you'll guaranteed get an ad deal? No, sometimes you get 3 and sometimes you get 0. But if you consistently every week mail 100, like you're gonna see a deal a week start to be the norm. And I'm a big believer in what you just preached, which is like make the inputs match so that the outputs are inevitable out of the goal. I want to switch gears here just a little bit and talk about, one of the questions that a lot of people have asked, and I've heard over the years on this, and probably I had it at some point too, is like, the thought like, well, real estate's expensive. Don't I have to come up with a bunch of money in this process to be able to do it? And I know you have some thoughts on that, but I'd love to hear your
perspective. No. So first of all, the beauty of wholesaling, if you don't know what wholesaling is, when you lock up the contract, you're not putting up any money for the contract. We did for years. I had $1 earnest money in my contracts, and like a year or two ago, we took that out. We don't even have the $1 earnest money in there now. So I think it's been well over a decade since we put up even $1 for earnest money. Somebody was like, Matt, if you're making all this money, what's it matter? Why don't you do $1,000 or $2,000? Because one, it doesn't change the ratio of accepted deals isn't really changed. And we got to the point where I was always floating $40,000-$50,000 in earnest money at any given time because of our volume. And we were losing track of that money. And so I just decided one day, hey, this is like a accounting nightmare over here with all this earnest money. So let's just cut it out. And it didn't affect our deal flow. So you don't need money to make the offer. And you're not putting up the money at closing because they're using the funds of the new buyer to buy the deal. So let's easy math. Let's say that you're buying the property. I'm just going to use very, very simple math here. You're buying the property for $100 grand. Okay. You put no earnest money down. You find a new buyer for $120,000. The day they close, they use the new buyer's funds of the 120. So the first 100 of it goes and pays off the purchase. Then the sale happens, and then you get the 20 grand less costs. There's always going to be, some attorney's fees, title docs, and all that stuff. Unless it's a straight assignment, we don't want to get too deep in the weeds. But that's it. So you don't put up the money at the purchase, and you don't put up the money at the close. You just get the money at closing. Some people that have never heard of wholesaling are going to be like, this is too good to be true. But it's totally true. It's totally true.
Yeah. And not only, it's just math. And maybe you could talk to, why, the question is like, why would somebody, just pay more for a house, or why wouldn't they do this themselves? And I think maybe you could elaborate, but like, I'll just give you, kind of my short understanding is a lot of times we're not buying like, prime real estate next to Manhattan, Central Park. Everybody wants it. Like typically these are homes because they've been neglected for a while. They would have to fix them up and repair them. So they're kind of fixer upper kind of situations often. And although not always, sometimes they're actually in good shape. But a lot of times, like they can't just go sell it on the open market. I wonder if you could speak about that. Like, where we're actually coming in and we're giving the only option a lot of these people have. And a lot of the fixer flipper types, like they're not marketers. They don't know how to go get deals. They just know how to fucking swing a hammer and fix a house. So they need you to be able to put together a deal for them and leave a little meat on the bone so they can still make some money when they fix and flip it. But I wonder if you could just talk about that process and like, why don't people just do this themselves kind of thing?
That's a great question. So here's the thing is a lot of people have houses that they don't want. And the problem is they talk to a real estate agent, and they're to qualify. I don't want to downplay real estate agents, but I'm going to kind of rip on real estate agents for
rip
a
on them.
second.
We got a lot of people that manage campaigns for real estate agents and hate them. So yeah.
It's so to become a licensed real estate agent is a very short online course. You can get it done in a few weeks, okay, in some cases days. And you become a licensed agent, and now all of a sudden you're an expert real estate agent that can go buy and sell. Well, there's 95% of the real estate agents out there don't do more than 3 transactions a year. Okay. All the top 5% are doing all the transactions. So what if this seller gets this house, or they have this house and they don't want it anymore, and they call an agent who's licensed, but they don't know that in real estate school you don't learn anything about real estate. You learn all of the how not to get sued stuff. It's all legal. It's not how to do the business. I want everybody to think about that for a second. It's not how to do the business. It's how not to get sued. Yeah, so what ends up happening is you got a bunch of unqualified people to speak on real estate that are licensed, but they're unqualified. So the guy down the street who decides to sell talks to his buddy and he goes, "Hey, my nephew Jake just became an agent. You should use him." So they call him up and they're like, "Hey, I want to sell this house." "Yeah, I'll be right over. Take a look, see what you got." And he comes over and he's like, "Oh, dude, you're gonna have to clean this thing out. There's too much garbage in here. You got to fix that hole in the roof. You got to make this thing smell better. You got to fix this, fix." And he's like, he's thinking, I don't have the money to do that. Or I don't even know who to hire. Yeah. So the problem starts with the agents. In most cases, trust me, they've talked to somebody else before they talk to you. And that person said, "Hey, if you do all these things, we can sell it for this price.
Put 30 grand into it, and then I'll sell it for you." And they're like, "I don't have 30 grand."
Right. Right. So then all of a sudden they're stressed out at night. They don't know what to do. They want to sell this house. It's costing them a fortune to hold. What if something happens? And then all of a sudden one day they get a phone call. "Hey, this is so-and-so. We're interested to see, do you still own 123 Main Street?" "Yeah, that's mine." "Hey, would you be interested in an all cash offer? You don't have to clean it out. You don't have to do any repairs, anything. We just buy it as is." Then the light goes off and they say, "Yes, I would sell that." Now they're going to ask a high price. They're going to be asking more than it's worth because they just talked to the real estate agent and said, "Hey, if you fix this thing up, it's worth 100 grand. We still make a low offer. We say, "Hey, Mr. Seller, if you look in the area and look at houses in this condition like yours, they're selling for $50,000. So you got some negotiation to do, but then you make that offer, you get it accepted. Now you have a house worth 100 if it's fixed up, but you have it under contract for 50. What you're going to do is find a cash buyer that's going to do the fix up. You're going to sell it to him for 60. He's going to put the money in for repairs and resell it, and he's going to make his profit. But you made 10,000 in the process. So it's a marketing. The best wholesalers are just good marketers. They find the people that want to sell and would sell for a discount.
You're literally just doing two sides of marketing, really. I mean, that's all it is you're marketing for, as you mentioned, like people who have, vacant homes with equity, and then you're marketing for people. And the beautiful thing about this in real estate too, you're marketing for buyers, I should say, like, the Mr. Fix-It types who want to come in and fix and flip stuff largely. And you're simply just putting them together in a transaction. And the beautiful thing about this that I love, at least this is true in the United States and is not true everywhere, like, it's all fucking public record. Like, you can just buy these none of this is hidden. You buy the right lists, and a big secret of yours is knowing, after decades of doing this, which list to buy, and then just focus on marketing to those people in like little old fashioned, calling them on the phone, sending them a text message, letter in the mail. Like, it's not crazy complicated stuff. It's usually like, "Hey, can I make you an offer?" And on the other side, like, "Hey, I have deals. Do you want to hear about them?" And that's really the whole marketing pitch on two angles, just done at scale, right? Like, it's not a super. Really is. I mean, there is complexities in like title companies and stuff like that. We've had a little bit of curveballs in there where, but that's what smart people like you are for. But for the most part, like, it's a pretty simple business model.
It's very simple. It's very simple. I know I was trying to figure out how quickly you did your first deal. I don't honestly, it was like 30 days. I know it wasn't very long, but I mean, it's one of those things where, first of all, real estate's abundant. It's everywhere. Second of all, 1/3 of all the homes in the United States are owned free and clear, meaning they have no mortgage. To put that in perspective, go get in your car, drive down the street. Every third house you pass by has no mortgage. Now, I know it's not that way, actually, but that's the math. So you have a bunch of people that own homes that they don't live in, that they have very low mortgages on, or no mortgage, and they have motivation to get rid of them. You're the guy or gal that finds those people, finds cash buyers. Cash buyers are just too busy to do this on their own, and they don't know how.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. I talk to a lot of these cash buyers, and they're like, how are you getting these deals? Because they're buying deals. How did you do that? How did you get this house at that low of a price? And I always respond with, hey man, I do creative marketing tactics that find deals nobody else can find. And I play it out like it's like I'm the answer. The reality is it's really not that difficult, but most people, one, don't know how to do it, or two, once they learn how to do it, don't have the capacity to go do the activities. I shortcutted that with virtual assistants. So all my stuff is 100% virtual. The other cool part is, let's say you live in a very, very competitive market. By the way, most people think the market they live in is competitive. No matter who I talk to, I get them on the phone. They're like, yeah, Matt, but you don't understand. I live in a competitive market. I've been in events before where there's 50 people in a small event. And one guy's like, I live in Houston, Texas, and it's competitive. So I'm going to go do deals over in, Chicago, Illinois. And the guy from Chicago, there's guys from Chicago sitting in the same audience. I live in Chicago and it's so competitive. I'm going down. I heard all the action is in Houston. And I'm like, guys, this is why most people get confused, is everybody thinks their market is competitive. But let's just say you're right and your market is competitive. With virtual wholesaling, you can get up in the morning, you can point to a map, you can say, I'm going to pull a list. You pull the list, buy the list, pick a few zip codes, buy the list, skip trace it, get their cell phones, and contact, and you will have leads that day.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, a testament to that. I remember you actually told me a story about the house you're sitting in right now. My kind of version of the story, and you feel free to add some details here, but you wanted to buy a house on the lake there in the area you're in, and people told you, oh, you'll never find a deal, Matt, a house on the lake in that area. And you're like, I think you did it in a couple of weeks or something like that, and pulled the list, started contacting, and bought it for half price. Yeah. And as you can see, it's probably not the nicest time of year, but there's the lake behind Matt. I promise you, in summertime it's beautiful and green and all that goodness.
So so when I bought this house, there's 13, this is a very private area, HOA. It's 650 acre lake. There's 1,300 houses on the lake. Everybody wants to be here because it's an HOA. Like, you can't go on this lake unless you own. And so because of that, everybody's like, Matt, I know you're really good at real estate. You've done real estate all over the country, but you'll never get a good deal here. So I just got a hold of one of my virtual assistants. We polled all 1,300 owners. I wrote one handwritten letter. So I wrote the letter, handed it to my team. They duplicated it electronically, so it looks handwritten, for 1,300 people. We mailed them. We got 27 responses that, hey, I got your letter and I'm considering selling. And I bought one house. This house, I paid $490,000 for this house. I got offered $1 million 6 months later. I never intended to sell it, so I didn't take it. But I had real estate agents that live on this lake contact me and say, how did you do that? I'm like, well, I sent a letter. How did you pull the names? How did you send the letter? How did you do? Like, they don't even know the process, and they're the ones buying and selling.
Yeah.
So that very quickly they came to me and said, any other deal you get like that, just call me and I'll bring the buyer. Just cut me in on the deal. So, it's just a system. Now I've been here for 3 years in this house, and I own multiple lots. So now I'm buying lots in the area because I want to own a whole bunch of lots, because the values are climbing fast, and I pay 20% for the lot that everybody else pays.
That's wild.
So
I love it. I love it when you show me it can't be done, Matt. It can't be done. No one will do it. And 27 people were willing to play ball with you.
by the way, I bought this house. The earnest money was $1.
Yeah.
$490,000 house. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of that is correct me if I'm wrong, but just to make the contract legally binding, you just have to have something there, right? But it's not like it's not like what people think. In a typical, when there's a real estate agent involved, they'll tell you need to put $5,000 down or 10 down because that's the way they've always done it. But like as long as a buyer and a seller agree to it, like they just want the contract, they just want it sold, they want it done with, and often, like you said, you're their only option on the table.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of time, I could probably keep you here another hour. But let's talk a little bit about the closing piece here, which is a lot of our folks, are busy running their thing. I think this is the ideal side hustle to complement what you're doing. But like, let's say they want to get into what you've been talking about is like, Matt will give you pre-trained, pre-screened VAs that already know how to pull these lists, already know what to do, already know what to say. They actually, you have a group meeting with the team, correct me if I'm wrong, and like, you train my team, right? Like you personally, right? It's almost like having Matt Larson as a manager in our business, but at virtual assistant prices. Like it's like, to consult with you, you probably bankrupt me in a couple of hours, but but to get you in my business is really like that comes with the whole kind of virtual assistant. So I wonder if you could just talk about like kind of what you guys offer, what the packages are, all that kind of stuff. And if somebody's just interested in just, getting somebody just to start closing real estate. And also I'd like to talk about a little bit about the expectation sides, because I think that was one of the things that was helpful to me. You said, don't do it if you're not going to give it at least 3 to 4 months to like, build some momentum and blah, blah, blah. Because people don't always just instantaneously sell a house to you. There's sometimes a process, things like that. So I wonder if you could talk firstly, what you offer. Secondly, like kind of how that works and how it works kind of harmoniously.
Yeah. First of all, I never intended on having a virtual assistant business. But I was selling my, so everybody in your audience has like digital marketers. I became a digital marketer on the side in 2020 and started selling the processes that I was using to train my VAs. And it sold like crazy. I did 7 figures in my very first year, which blew my mind. But one guy calls me up one day. He goes, "Man, I bought your virtual assistant training, and it's like the best training I've ever read." He's like, "But I just don't want to do any of the work. Can I hire one of your VAs?" And we didn't offer VAs at that point. So I went back to my team like, "Hey, somebody's asking us to find them a VA, train them like they were going to put on our team, but then hand them off to them. Is that something we can do?" And my team thought, let's give it a try. So it turned out to be very popular. We went to 7 figures very quickly in that business as well. And so what I do is I use my internal team. We don't use third party anything. We created the training, we created the onboarding, we created the screening process. We did all the work in-house. I have my own HR team in-house. But you
guys actually have boots on the ground too, as well in the Philippines, right? Like there's actually a remote office there. Yeah. Okay.
Well, we don't have an office there. Everybody works from their home, but we have people there in the HR to pull people.
Yeah.
So basically what we do is we're super strict because there's a lot of VAs out there, but that doesn't mean they're good. You have to find the ones with good core values, and that's very difficult to do. It's very expensive to do if you do it our way, but
a lot of screening.
What works. Yeah. Only 5.5% of the VAs we start with through the screening process actually make it and get placed with a team. Only 5. So like if we interview 1,000 VAs and run them through our testing and screening process, only 55 of them get placed. Very small percent, like the Navy SEAL percentages. So anyway, we created all the training in-house. We train with live leads. So we don't just give them classroom training. We give them live leads. They're on the phone. We're recording the calls. I have people listening to their calls, helping coach, deciding whether or not somebody makes it or gets cut. And then what we do, so they're ready to go. So if you hire one of my cold callers, for example, they have already done the cold calling and been trained, and you can place them in your business and they're ready to roll.
Yeah.
Same thing with our acquisitions VAs. They're already trained by me to learn how to negotiate and get $100,000 houses for 50 grand. So that's a very complex, time-consuming process and expensive. So these VAs aren't cheap. They're cheap per hour, but there's always a placement fee. That's not always super cheap. Um, I'm going to make it cheap for anybody that comes through Frankie, though, just because he's a friend of mine and he's got a good group.
Yeah, make sure you guys
But,
mention my name to get the special hookup from Matt, because
yeah,
otherwise
yeah,
you pay the retail price.
right. And it's there's a vast difference between retail and the Frankie price. So basically, you can get a VA in any position. You come to me. I get on a call. Basically, what I like to do is I like to get on a call with people just to feel them out, make sure they're a good fit for the program. If I get somebody on a call and they're like, "Yeah, I really don't want to do anything. I just want to hire your VAs and disappear for 12 months." I typically say, probably not going to work for you because you have to be involved in some level. It's like be like a coach.
Yeah, and there's
Not
just little stuff they'll ask me, like my VAs are like, "Hey, do you want us to focus on this area of the city right now, or do you want us to go here?" And like, it's nothing major, but like there's little decisions that have to be made, and if you're not available and you're gone and you're, too
Mhm.
far out, you can't, do it.
Yeah. So I try to talk to everybody first and make sure that see if it'll work for their situation. It's typically only a 15-20 minute call, but it's worth. I mean, I don't charge for it. But it's worth the time because I can kind of help direct and guide and give us some advice. But basically, our VAs then get placed and they go to work. They're ready to go the day you hire them. Versus if you have to try to find a VA on your own, you go out and find them. Hopefully you do it with their finding right. You're probably not going to go down to 5.5% because it takes a full-time team just to do that. But then if you mess up, you got to start over. But let's say you get them in your business and now you got to train them. We do all that for people. So it's a turnkey virtual assistant business. But once you have it, they're good. These people want to work for you. They don't want to quit and leave. If they do, we always replace them at no price. It's not common. It does happen. It's pretty rare, but it does happen sometimes. So basically, you can get a hold of me or go to, we'll give you how to contact me. Make sure you mention
I'll
Frank.
put a link below this for whatever we think the best link is. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then if anybody's interested, just make sure you have to mention Frankie's name or else you'll pay a lot higher price. But we can help you get your side hustle going. The beauty of it is, like we've been talking, is you don't have to do the majority of it. You still have to be involved. You have to lead your team. You have to, be there to answer some questions if you have questions. But
if you do stuff like we do, like you already have the skill set. Like it's just like, for me, like one of the most exciting things is like you said, like literally first day you get a report from a VA, like, "Hey, I had a conversation with 2 sellers today who are potentially interested." Like you have leads day one. And that's fucking wild to me. Like that was like wild. It's like, holy shit, they're already talking to sellers on my behalf, and sometimes it's just little shit. "Hey, I'm locked out of this thing. I'm going to send you a one-time code. Can you get me in?" "Sure." "Okay, here's a one-time code." Like there's little stuff like that, but it's not a new skill set at all to learn. And it's not a new skill set to manage. For those of you guys, like I know tons of you guys who already got VAs, who are already generating leads, who are already sending emails, who already know how to write copy. Like for the rest of the world, this shit may sound like rocket science, but in our world, like that's your wheelhouse all day long. Like you don't even need any warm-up pitches to hit a home run the first pitch, in my kind of opinion.
Yeah, that's the best part about it. We basically take somebody that really may not have a chance without a lot of years of trial and error. And we help them kind of go to the front of the line and get going and get deals done. And here's a cool part. My team doesn't disappear after we place the VAs. Anytime you need help, I have staff that I pay that's part of what the service is, that they like to look at your KPIs every week. They have to make sure things are happening. If they see something off, they're going to say something to you or to the VAs and try to troubleshoot. So you still have us kind of hanging out in the background to keep an eye on stuff with you. I mean, we're not going to manage your VAs for you. That's your job, but we do like to keep track of stuff. And when we see something that isn't right, we say something.
Yeah, love it. Cool. For the sake of time, I think we'll call it a show there. And for those of you guys who are interested, I'll put links below this video. Check them out. I'm obviously a huge fan. That's why we're here. I'm a huge fan of Matt and the work he puts out. So Dude, I mean, I consider you a mentor and a friend. So thank you so much for being here and doing this.
Yeah, man, always. Anytime you want me to come back, I'm here for you.
Love it, my dude. We are definitely going to have you back. Guys, if you like this video, you're also going to want to grab some free bonuses, which you can get at our website, Beyond Agency Profits. To make it easy for you, I've put the links to it in the description of this video, as well as pinned in the top comment. And we've got a couple of awesome things. This is what you'll get after you sign up. You get some of our best training, how we're closing clients over Loom videos, how we sometimes sign clients that is not a misprint for under $5 US, how to demonstrate your value in like amazing ways, trainings, how to have your clients write the best copy of your life, how we're closing without phone calls, campaigns that we've generated for clients that have done over $100,000, as well as scripts you can use to get conversations going with clients in under 10 minutes. All you got to simply do is go there, enter your name and email address, and then this is what you'll see on the other side. So if that's interesting to you, make sure to click the links below, and I will see you on the other side.